2025 is looking stacked for RPG fans. We're talking massive worlds, crazy good visuals, and gameplay that just, makes you want to lose a whole weekend. I've rounded up 20 of the biggest RPGs. Some you've been waiting years for, others you probably didn't even know existed. Let's jump in. Alright, so Crimson Desert is like one of those games that just, feels way bigger than you expect. At first, people thought it was a prequel to Black Desert. But nope, it's a standalone action-adventure set in this massive fantasy land called Pywell. You're following Macduff, a mercenary just trying to survive while dealing with political chaos, faction wars, and, his own personal baggage. The thing is, it's not just about swinging a sword. The world's huge, with insanely detailed cities, wide-open plains, snowy mountains you can climb, and you can ride horses or, just scale cliffs if you feel like it. Combat looks super brutal, with flashy combos, grapples, blocks, and counters. You can even swap weapons mid-fight to keep things fresh. And the world's, really alive. The weather and time shift on their own. So, one minute you're riding through a peaceful sunset, and then, out of nowhere, a sandstorm just slams into you. It's not all chaos, though. Sometimes you're just fishing, trading, or running into NPCs who, actually have their own schedules and go about their day. So, if you're into open-world games that kind of blend epic storytelling, massive exploration, and heavy-hitting combat, Crimson Desert's shaping up to be one of the biggest releases when it finally drops. Assassin's Creed is taking the series straight into feudal Japan. And, something fans have been waiting on for years. The game lets you alternate between two main characters. Naoe, a shinobi who focuses on stealth, agility, and specialized tools, and Yasuke, a samurai whose strength and precision make him formidable in direct combat. The game's, really leaning into its dual playstyle setup. You can sneak through rooftops, chain assassinations, and disappear in the shadows with Naoe, or you can just walk right up and challenge enemies head-on as Yasuke. Both have their own skill trees, gear, and ways of interacting with the world, so switching between them feels fresh instead of forced. The world itself is fully open, with seasonal changes and a day-night cycle that rain makes surfaces slippery, heavy winds can affect archery, and NPCs have their own schedules. So, stalking a target might mean following them in-game until they're in the right spot. Combat's more grounded than past entries. Swords clash, stamina matters, and even a single bad parry can mess you up. Plus, there's more emphasis on infiltration tools, disguises, and blending in with crowds to set up your kills. Chrono Odyssey is looking like one of those games that, really tries to blend high fantasy MMORPG vibes with some wild time manipulation mechanics. You're part of this group called the Adrajan, basically mercenaries caught in a massive war against these cosmic creatures known as the Void. What's neat is how the combat isn't just flashy for the sake of it. It's got that deliberate, almost Souls-like pacing, but then you can literally mess with time mid-fight, like rewind to dodge a hit you already took, or slow everything down to land a perfect counter. It's the kind of thing that could make PvP duels pretty intense. The world's huge, too. We're talking open zones that shift between day, night, and even different timelines. So you might explore a ruined castle in one era, then see it standing tall centuries earlier. Each area has its own massive bosses, puzzles, and events that players can tackle together or solo. Gear hunting is also a big deal here. Loot, rare drops, skill builds, it all ties into how you approach combat. And since enemies change with the timeline you're in, farming certain items might only be possible at specific points in time. If they pull it off, Chrono Odyssey's mix of MMO exploration, Souls-like combat, and full-on time control could end up being one of the most unique fantasy RPGs we've seen in a while. The Blood of Dawnwalker is like this dark medieval RPG that really leans into that Gothic horror vibe. You step into the shoes of Cohen, who's just a normal guy struggling to survive in a land gripped by plague. The night and day gameplay loop is what really grabs you. During the day, you're using swords, casting runic magic, talking to villagers, doing quests, That kind of grounded, gritty RPG stuff. But as soon as darkness falls, the game flips. You're prowling rooftops, feeding on enemies, stealthing through shadows, and you've got to manage your thirst or risk losing control, and that can totally mess with your relationships. Feels kind of like balancing humanity and monster, you know? The world itself, Vale Sangora, is just dripping with atmosphere. It's this remote Carpathian region full of twisted forests, misty swamps, crumbling cathedrals. You only have 30 days and 30 nights to piece together your past and save your family before everything goes sideways. What's cool is how your choices matter in real time. You can rush in guns blazing against your sire, or take a more subtle route. Gather allies, manipulate factions, dig up old secrets. Brensis, the antagonist, he's always adapting to what you do. Your moves influence the whole region, NPC behaviors, alliances, even how townsfolk react to your presence.
I don't know. How?
I am life. I am death.
Fossilized is this wild action RPG that originally started as a side passion project by one guy, Bing Yang. Totally indie vibes, you know? Then Sony noticed and helped him level it up into a full studio effort. You take on the role of Kaser, who's basically on this desperate quest to save his sister from a crazed dimension full of Voidrax creatures. And get this, Kaser's not just swinging a sword. He's got this living weapon buddy named Arena, who literally morphs into different weapons mid-fight. Sword, polearm, scythe, take your pick. It makes the combat feel super fast and cinematic. Gameplay? Dude, it's flexible. You can go light and nimble or toss in heavy gear and magic runes for a more brute force style. It feels easy to grab onto, but mastering combos and arena forms takes actual skill. Perfect for when you want flashy, fluid combat that still hits hard. Visually, it's gorgeous. Anime-inspired with next-gen polish. The Unreal Engine 4 looks crisp, there's ray tracing, you can run it fast, and on PS5, it rocks full DualSense vibration support. It's exactly the level of visual wow factor you want in a modern action game. Pre-orders are happening now. Standard is around $60. Deluxe gives you extras like a golden look for Arena, some fragments, a soundtrack, and an art book if you want to go collector mode. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 just dropped on February 4th, 2025, and it's pretty much everything fans of the first game were hoping for. You're back as Henry of Skullets, same dude, just way more thrown into the thick of it now. His story picks right up after the original, picking up with civil war raging through 15th century Bohemia, and the stakes are way higher. You go from scrappy blacksmith's kid to getting tangled with kings, nobles, and secret schemers before you know it. The world, it's massive. Like, double the size of the first game with not just one map, but 2 full environments. You'll explore the lush, scenic Bohemian paradise, and then head into the gritty, silver mining city of Kuttenberg. Both areas are packed with atmosphere, politics, quests, and old-school medieval vibes. Combat's got a refresh too. They kept the realistic, strategic, medieval swordplay, but polished it up so it feels smoother and more responsive. And they've added new tools like crossbows and early gunpowder weapons. Henry's journey this time is all about how your choices ripple through the world. People remember if you're respectful, friendly, or straight-up criminal, towns will react differently. Visually, it's stunning. Top-tier realism driven by CryEngine tech and cinematic storytelling, with over 5 hours of cutscenes diving deep into Henry's story. Borderlands 4 is pushing the series' trademark looter-shooter action to an even more extreme level. The game amplifies the chaotic firefights, absurd weapon variety, and fast-paced co-op gameplay that have defined the franchise. This time, the setting's shifting to a brand new world that's a mix of wild frontier vibes and high-tech ruins. You know, the kind of place where you're blasting bandits one second and getting jumped by some freaky alien creature the next. The humor's still here, those off-the-wall NPCs, the ridiculous side quests, but there's also, like, way more focus on making the world feel alive. Dynamic events can break out while you're exploring, so you might be chasing loot and suddenly find yourself in the middle of a massive shootout you didn't sign up for. Combat-wise, it's still that fast, snappy gunplay Borderlands nails, but the new weapon mods and elemental synergies are making builds feel way crazier. You can mix stuff so your guns do, like, chain lightning, poison clouds, and explosive bursts all at once. It's just pure mayhem. And yeah, co-op's a big deal again, but there's more room for solo players with smarter CPU allies and scaling difficulty that actually feels fair. Gothic 1 Remake is basically the classic RPG we grew up with, but rebuilt from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. And yeah, it looks way better now, like way better, but they've kept that gritty prison colony vibe that made the original stand out. You're still dumped into the colony, this huge mining prison surrounded by mountains and orcs, and it's up to you to figure out who to trust, who to fight, and how to survive. NPCs actually have their own routines now. They work, eat, sleep, so the whole place feels more alive than it ever did back in the day. Combat? It's still got that slow, heavy feel, but it's smoother now. You can chain combos together, time your blocks better, and it's way more fun without losing that weighty, old-school punch. They also added new quests, more dialogue, and expanded some storylines so you get a little extra lore while exploring. There's even a free demo out, Nyra's Prologue. You play as this guy connected to the original story, and it's a good taste of how the remake plays. It's on PC and consoles right now, so you can try it before the full game drops in early 2026. The first Berserker Khazan is a fast-paced, combat-focused action RPG centered on style, precision, and relentless momentum. You're stepping into the boots of Khazan. Yeah, the legendary warrior from the Dungeon Fighter universe, and the whole game's built around his fall from grace and his bloody path to redemption. The combat's, flashy, but also really punishing if you get sloppy. You've got these huge, sweeping attacks mixed with tight dodges and perfect parries, and the game kind of pushes you to chain moves together for that satisfying cinematic flow. What's cool is how it blends over-the-top anime-style action with darker, grounded fantasy vibes. You're fighting everything from armored knights to massive demonic beasts, and the boss fights? Yeah, they're huge set pieces that demand you learn their patterns or just get wrecked. There's also this RPG layer with skill trees, weapon upgrades, and gear that actually changes how you fight, so you can go all in on raw damage, focus on speed, or balance between the two. Visually, it's like gorgeous in that gritty, painterly way. Heavy shadows, detailed armor, and battle animations that make every slash feel weighty. Arknights Endfield is a 3D action RPG set in the Arknights universe, but it works as a completely standalone experience. The story unfolds on Talos 2, a new and uncharted planet blending science fiction themes with exploration-driven RPG gameplay. The gameplay is actually a wild blend. You're not just running around fighting enemies in real time with a squad of up to 4. You're also building and managing your own base from the ground up. Yeah, it's kind of split between action RPG and a mini Factorio-style factory simulator, with conveyor belts, resource processing, and power grids to sort out. Combat is strategic and slick. Each party shares a skill gauge, and you can switch between operators over the course of battle, chaining combos and triggering powerful moves. They've layered in tactical elements like imbalance. Stack enough hits, and enemies become vulnerable for a big execution move. The world itself is big and semi-open. You're sent to explore wild and hostile lands, uncover old ruins, and grow your bases with industrial tech. The dual gameplay loop of exploring and building feels like it could appeal to fans of both RPGs and management sims. Right now, they've run technical tests and beta trials on PC, and the team is focused on delivering smooth cross-platform experiences on PC, mobile, and PS5. Number 10, Ballad of Antara. Ballad of Antara is a fantasy action RPG with a painterly, almost dreamlike visual style that contrasts with its often brutal combat. You'll journey through a land split between two realms, the familiar world and a shadowy, corrupted reflection of it, switching between them to solve puzzles, traverse blocked paths, and uncover hidden stories. Combat is deliberate, with each weapon type offering its own stance-based moves and counters, and enemies designed to challenge different aspects of your skill. The narrative focuses on the bond between your main character and a mysterious child who seems to be at the heart of the realm's decay. Exploration rewards you with more than just loot. You'll find fragments of songs, paintings, and relics that slowly fill in the cultural history of the world. It's a game that wants you to slow down, absorb its atmosphere, and let the beauty and horror intertwine in your mind. Number 9. Blood of Message. Blood of Message is a dark fantasy RPG with a deeply mysterious premise. You awaken in a land where the boundaries between the living and the dead are unstable, and cryptic voices guide you towards some forgotten truth. The game blends punishing melee combat with powerful magic that comes at a steep personal cost. Environments are massive and interconnected, filled with hidden paths, deadly ambushes, and optional bosses that guard unique lore and gear. The art direction leans heavily into oppressive atmospheres, crumbling cathedrals, mist-choked battlefields, and caverns lit only by bioluminescent fungi. The story is intentionally fragmented, leaving you to piece it together from environmental clues, cryptic dialogue, and your own interpretation of events. It's the kind of game that rewards patience, exploration, and an eye for detail, where even the smallest object might hold the key to understanding the bigger mystery. Number 8. The Outer Worlds 2. The Outer Worlds 2 continues the satirical, darkly comedic take on corporate-controlled space colonization. You'll be exploring a brand new star system, filled with strange planets, eccentric characters, and morally messy choices that ripple across the galaxy. The writing is still razor-sharp, mixing biting humor with genuinely weighty moral dilemmas, and the combat has been refined to feel snappier and more tactical. You can still slow down time in combat to pick your shots, but now enemies adapt to your playstyle, forcing you to change strategies mid-fight. Your companions each have their own quests, personalities, and potential to either help or sabotage you depending on how you treat them. The game doesn't hold your hand. You can lie, manipulate, or brute force your way through problems, and sometimes the right choice still comes with ugly consequences. Number 7. Aion 2. Aion 2 is a massive MMORPG that builds on the lore of the original, but expands it into a fully seamless world without loading screens between regions. The signature aerial combat returns, letting you engage enemies while flying across breathtaking landscapes, from floating islands to sprawling cities perched on cliffsides. The customization is incredibly deep. You can shape your character's abilities, gear, and even the way your wings look. The PvE content spans large-scale world bosses, intricate dungeons, and epic siege battles, while the PvP system integrates into almost every aspect of the game. One of its key features is the faction system, where your alliances, or betrayals, can shift the balance of power across the server. The world feels alive, with dynamic events like invasions and natural disasters that change which areas are safe to travel through. Number 6. Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds dropped February 28, 2025, for PS5, Xbox Series, Command X, and PC, throwing players into the Forbidden Lands, a massive open world with dynamic weather that can shift from calm skies to brutal storms, changing how monsters and the environment behave. You'll hunt alongside secret companions who can carry spare weapons so you can swap gear mid-battle. Pop-up camps keep you in the hunt longer without running back to base. Classic monsters like Rathalos return, joined by fierce new creatures, some working in herds for coordinated attacks. Fans are praising the stunning landscapes, improved combat flow, and richer wildlife behavior. And while PC had some launch hiccups, updates have smoothed things out. It's easily one of the boldest and most alive entries in the series. Number 5. Wuchang, Fallen Feathers. Wuchang, Fallen Feathers drops you into a haunting late Ming Dynasty setting, plagued by a mysterious illness that mutates humans into grotesque bird-like monstrosities. You play as Wuchang, a warrior afflicted by the same curse, giving you both devastating combat abilities and a ticking clock over your humanity. The world is draped in misty forests, decaying villages, and corrupted temples, each hiding secrets, shortcuts, and clues about the origin of the plague. The combat is methodical and punishing, rewarding precise timing with your weapon swings and dodges, while also letting you tap into supernatural abilities at the cost of accelerating your transformation. Enemy design is unsettling, with creatures moving in sudden, erratic bursts that keep you constantly on edge. The narrative isn't just delivered through cutscenes, You piece it together from cryptic notes, overheard conversations, and environmental storytelling that makes exploration as rewarding as the fights themselves. Number 4, ArcheAge Chronicles. ArcheAge Chronicles is a return to the rich, sandbox-style MMO roots of the franchise, but with a sharper focus on storytelling. The world is divided among powerful nations, ancient ruins, and sprawling oceans, where naval combat plays a huge role. You're not just running from quest marker to quest marker, you're carving out your own story, whether that means becoming a feared pirate, a political leader, or a wandering treasure hunter. The combat has been rebuilt to be more fluid, with skill combos that change depending on your weapon setup, and large-scale PvP battles where hundreds of players can clash over territory or sea dominance. One of its biggest draws is the freedom. You can own land, build ships, trade goods across dangerous routes, or sabotage your rivals' supply lines. The narrative takes place during a turbulent period in the world's history, tying player actions into the overarching conflict, which makes the world feel alive and reactive. Number 3, Vindictus, Defying Fate. Vindictus, Defying Fate reimagines the original Vindictus universe with a darker, more grounded art style and intense, weighty combat that really makes every swing of the blade matter. You'll be exploring these massive, interconnected maps filled with monstrous bosses, each regarded by Celtic mythology, each requiring different tactics to bring down. The game mixes brutal melee combat with environmental interactions. You can kick enemies off ledges, smash them into walls, or use parts of the arena to your advantage. The story picks up in a war-torn land where factions are fighting for survival against an overwhelming monstrous threat, and your choices in dialogue and alliances will change how certain quests and battles play out. The bosses aren't just damage sponges, they have multiple attack phases, destructible armor, and weak points you have to exploit. It's got this balance of cinematic flair and tight, precise gameplay that should appeal to players who want every fight to feel like a desperate struggle, rather than just another grind. Number 2, Where Winds Meet. Where Winds Meet is this open-world martial arts RPG set in the twilight of China's 10 Kingdoms era, and it really leans into that sense of freedom. You're playing as a wandering swordsman or swordswoman, caught in the middle of political chaos, where factions rise and fall, and every choice you make kind of shifts the story in subtle or drastic ways. The world is huge, with sprawling cities, dense forests, snowy mountains, and ancient ruins you can actually climb and explore without invisible walls holding you back. The combat blends traditional wuxia swordplay with these acrobatic moves. You can dash across rooftops, parry arrows mid-flight, and chain attacks in fluid combos that feel almost like a choreographed martial arts film. It's not just about fighting either. You can take on roles like a healer, merchant, or even a rogue who just messes with rival factions for fun. The game world responds to your decisions, so it's entirely possible to change the fate of regions, characters, or even the entire kingdom just by how you play. Number 1, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is honestly one of the most emotionally impactful RPGs to hit last year. It's a French-developed game that released in April 2025, and it just shattered expectations. You're part of this elite team, Expedition 33, heading into a mesmerizing world inspired by Belle Epoque France, determined to confront the Paintress, this mysterious being whose yearly ritual wipes out people of a certain age. The combat is a fascinating blend of turn-based systems with real-time actions, so you're dodging, parrying, aiming freely, chaining combos when the rhythm's just right. Its visuals are gorgeous, with serious chiaroscuro lighting that makes every scene feel like a living painting, and the soundtrack is downright haunting. And yeah, despite being from a small team, it sold over 3 million copies in just over a month, earning a place among Game of the Year contenders. The story's layered and ambiguous. Your ending really makes you wrestle with impossible choices, and the silence of the conclusion leaves space for your own interpretation. It's the kind of game that stays with you long after you've put the controller down. So yeah, that's the list. Some of the biggest and most talked about games you can play right now. Which one's topping your playlist? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. All right, let's keep gaming.